Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners. My name is Rebecca and today we're making some Dollar Tree breakfast. The goal is to make 4 breakfasts that each make at least 4 servings and cost no more than $5. That is a lot cheaper than hitting up a drive-thru, and I think I have some really fun ideas today. One of the hurdles at my particular Dollar Tree locations, and this might not be at your Dollar Tree locations, is that when it comes to making breakfast, my Dollar Trees have not been selling eggs for the past 6 months or so. So trying to come up with breakfast ideas that don't involve eggs can be a little bit challenging, but these are all eggless breakfasts. They're not necessarily egg allergy friendly. Some of the mixes that I use possibly come into contact with eggs, but I do know at least 2 of the breakfasts that I'm going to be making should be egg allergy friendly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Excluding the plus section of Dollar Trees, which are the $3, $4, and $5 items, every item at Dollar Tree is $1.25, so that means that you can buy 4 ingredients for the $5 price. And as usual, I'm going to factor in the full cost of every ingredient with the exception of oil, salt, and pepper. So for the first breakfast, I have a package of blueberry muffin mix. I have 2 packs of the pre-made sausage patties, and then I have some 2% milk, or you can use whole milk, almond milk, any kind of milk. This is going to be some sausage stuffed muffins, and it's going to be kind of similar to the sausage pancake on a sticks that you can buy that are quite expensive. So this is a much cheaper way to get a similar kind of flavor because those run $7 to $9 a box. I'm going to be using a muffin tin to make these, as these little sausage patties should fit pretty perfectly inside the muffin, and there's 4 sausage patties in each of these packages, so we're going to be aiming to make 8 total muffins. So I'm going to start by spraying my muffin tin with nonstick spray. You can also just brush it with oil or butter, or you can line it with a paper liner. And I'm only going to be doing 8 because we're only going to be making 8 muffins. I'm going to be mixing my blueberry muffin mix with a ½ cup of milk. In a pinch, you can use water, and I've done that several times before. The big difference I've noticed with water instead of milk is that the muffin mix tends to be a little bit more dry and a little bit more crumbly than it is when you use milk. I think a couple of other substitutes for the milk would be unsweetened applesauce. You can also use water and maybe add a tablespoon of oil to give it some added moisture and fat content that would replace some of the fat content in the milk. I've even experimented with replacing the milk with things like pumpkin puree or orange juice. So once our muffins are mixed, I'm going to add a small amount of batter into the bottom of each of the tins, just a little bit, mostly just enough to cover the bottom. Now these sausage patties come frozen at Dollar Tree, at least at my Dollar Tree, so you do need to thaw them out in advance. I left mine in my fridge overnight. And we're going to plop one, as best as we can, into each of our muffin tins. They might not fit exactly, but you can kind of press them down in there if you want. And as always, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be eaten regardless of whether it's perfect, so don't worry about it too much. And now we're going to go in and divide our muffin mix on top. Again, trying to just distribute it evenly between the 8 muffins. I'm using my spoon to kind of press the sausage patty flat, and then use the back of the spoon to spread the muffin mix evenly across the top of the sausage patty. And these are going to get baked at 350 for about 20 to 22 minutes. I let them cook for about 24 minutes, but our sausage muffins are out, and I'm going to let them cool a minute before I unmold them. I've made a couple different variations of these, and you can choose to dip these in syrup, but I find that they're kind of perfectly sweet without needing the syrup, and I really like the sweet and salty combination of the blueberry muffin with the sausage. I forgot to show you a cross section, but here's what it looks like. So you have a whole sausage patty. It's not fail proof. They can fall apart. Let me see if I have the one that fell apart on me. Although it seems that now that it's cooled, they're all whole. So that might be the secret to getting them to stay together, is to let them cool completely so that there's not just like a layer of sausage fat, because now they're all holding their shape. I love these. I think they're a great meal prep option, a grab and go breakfast. I love these in every form. Another way that I've made them is in a mini muffin tin with sausage links cut into small pieces. Those are good though. The second breakfast is going to be some no-bake energy bites. So for this, I have some old-fashioned rolled oats. I also have peanut butter, some of the honey syrup at Dollar Tree. Now this is a mix of honey and corn syrup. That's why it's only $1.25. It's about 2/3 of a cup. If you wanted to use real honey, you certainly can. For an added mix-in, you can either do chocolate chips or some fruit and nut mix. I prefer the fruit and nut mix, but you have your choice there. I like the Sunshine Blend. It's a mix of banana chips, cranberries, almonds, cashews, and blueberries. I particularly buy this because of the blueberries and the banana chips. I think they add a really fun flavor and texture. And it's already pretty well chopped, but I like to chop it down even further, especially the whole almonds. I don't really want to be biting into that in my little bites, so I'm going to chop this pretty finely. Typically when I make this, I do 2 bags of these nuts, but I'm trying to keep this under $5. So if I were to use 2 bags, that would make it $6.25. So that's why I'm only using 1 bag today. But if you have the means, I usually do a bag of Sunshine Blend and a bag of fruit and nut mix. So I get some added cranberries and dried fruits in it, because this bag is mostly banana chips, but I really enjoy the banana chips in this specific recipe. The banana chips almost make it like a Rice Krispie-ish texture. It's really delightful. And you can of course also use a food processor to make this a little bit faster and easier. Now I'm gonna add that into a bowl, along with 2 cups of rolled oats. I have also in the past used the flavored instant oatmeal packets in this. Dollar Tree doesn't seem to be carrying those anymore. They do have just plain oatmeal now, which I really appreciate because I did find that they were quite sweet when I used the instant oatmeal packets. So this should cut down on the sweetness a good bit. Now for the peanut butter and the honey, I am going to be using the whole jar of each. We're gonna have to thin it out a little bit, so I'm gonna microwave the peanut butter for about 30 to 45 seconds to make it pourable. There is enough oatmeal in this bag to double this recipe, or you can choose to save this for overnight oats, make a batch later on down the line. Sometimes I even add oatmeal into my pancakes in the morning to make them more fibrous and more filling. After 30 seconds in the microwave, we can pour our peanut butter into our oats, and we can also add in our honey syrup. Again, I'm using the whole thing. Add as much or as little as you want to make it as sweet as you like. All we're gonna do is stir this all together. Now we're gonna cover and refrigerate this for 1 to 2 hours. And they should be about ready to roll. You can do these in bars. I've done them in bars in the past, but I want to try them as like little balls or little bites. So I'm gonna take a spoon and grab a little bit of this mixture and roll it out into about a 1-inch ball. It shouldn't stick to your hands. It's gonna be nice and shiny. And I'm just gonna repeat this and we'll see how many balls we get out of this mixture. I don't know how many balls I got out of that. I actually forgot to count. So let me count those real quick. If they do get a little sticky, just get your hands wet and they won't stick to your hands. I got 23 little 1-inch balls out of that. Now when it comes to these peanut butter balls, after you've gone through the process of rolling them out, put them back in the fridge. They are better when they're eaten cold in my experience. I don't particularly like them when they're warm, but I think they're really great when they're cold. They kind of taste like a no-bake peanut butter oatmeal cookie, but as I mentioned, that little bit of banana chip in there gives it a super fun like Rice Krispie-ish texture. These are amazing. And they're called energy bites because they pack quite a lot. Peanut butter is very filling, oatmeal is very filling. These are very, very dense little bites. You can probably only eat like 2, maybe 3 of them tops before you're just a little over the peanut butter factor. The third breakfast is going to be like a breakfast skillet or a breakfast hash. For this, I have a bag of steak cut French fries, which I have thawed in the fridge overnight. I like the steak cut because they're a little bit thicker. Dollar Tree doesn't sell fresh potatoes, so oftentimes I use French fries or diced potatoes, but you get more with the French fries than you get with the can of diced potatoes. This is a 1-pound bag for $1.25. It's the most economical option the Dollar Tree has. I'm also going to be adding some smoked sausage to it and some pepper and onion stir fry. This has also been thawed overnight. And lastly, if your Dollar Tree sells eggs, then I recommend eggs because it's going to be a lot more filling. My Dollar Tree doesn't sell eggs, so I use that $1.25 instead to buy a block of cheese. The first step of this breakfast skillet is going to be to dice up these French fries. which, as I mentioned, I did put them in the fridge to thaw out overnight, but there is still some ice. They aren't completely thawed, but that won't affect anything. This step takes a little bit of time because I can only do like 1 or 2 French fries at a time. This breakfast in particular is probably the most time consuming just because there's chopping and grating to be done. So there we go. There's our potatoes all diced up. I'm gonna set those aside and I'm gonna chop this sausage. I wish Dollar Tree had more affordable meat options. They have the smoked sausage, which you'll see me use a lot. They also have the meatballs. Those are pretty good value. Then they have the little 7-ounce rolls of breakfast sausage. Mine didn't have any today. And plus, I really like the hardiness of the smoked sausage. But beyond that, there isn't much. You have the 4 slices of bacon, which is okay more as a flavor enhancer than as like a main course potentially. And then also you have the cans of chicken. If you have a Dollar Tree with a plus section, they have the ribeye steaks, but those are $3. And that's really about it. You'll see me use the beef patties from time to time because those are pretty affordable, but they're not personally my favorite because I find them to be a little bit salty. So what I'm getting at here is that while my channel is Dollar Tree focused, it's not necessarily me advocating that I think people should shop at Dollar Tree. I do think it is the best option if you have a really small budget and you're trying to get the most variety in your meals. That doesn't mean I'm not going to take time to teach my tips and tricks for making Dollar Tree food more palatable and more enjoyable, especially when it comes to the meats. A good example of this would be whenever I make the beef patties, and I mentioned that I find them to be quite salty, so you'll see me talk about rinsing them after I have browned them. That's to remove the excess salt and seasoning, and again, generally give them a more neutral flavor palette. These are just plain potatoes, so I'm going to go ahead and add some salt and pepper to them to season them up. Bearing in mind that the smoked sausage can be a little on the salty side, so maybe be more heavy-handed on the pepper than you are with salt. As you can see, I kind of slightly over browned my potatoes initially. That was totally an accident. They're still going to be delicious. So I'm just going to let them continue to brown up on the other sides, and then we can move on to the next step. I think those potatoes are looking pretty good. I'm going to remove them from the skillet, add a little bit more oil, and now we can go in with the peppers and onions. These were thawed and they've been drained, along with the smoked sausage. I am cooking these separately because there's a lot of moisture in them and I don't want them to interfere with our potatoes too much. I still want our potatoes to be nice and crispy. While those saute, I am going to grate my cheddar cheese, which I usually like to do by cutting the block in half because these blocks are really thin. I find that that just makes them easier to grate. And then I grate the 2 halves at one time, so it makes like kind of one bigger block in a sense. Once we've got some color on our sausage, peppers, and onions, I can add the potatoes back in. Give that all a mix together. And now our breakfast is ready. Prep me a plate for today. Can you imagine how filling something like this would be with a fried egg or some scrambled eggs? Sprinkle on a little bit of cheese and just let that melt from the residual heat. And the rest of this breakfast skillet can get portioned out. Now, this isn't necessarily a breakfast skillet, but it can also be a lunch or a dinner. It doesn't necessarily have to be breakfast. I think that because the portions are a little on the smaller side is why I recommend this for breakfast. If you're gonna do it for dinner or lunch, I would probably only split it into 2 portions instead of 4. And I'm not even gonna use all of the shredded cheese. I put a little bit in each portion, but I still have about a ½ cup or so left of shredded cheese. Now, this is one of those breakfasts where I do recommend if you have ketchup or hot sauce or a little bit of both, it'll definitely make it a little bit better, but otherwise it's a really substantial breakfast on its own. Lately, I have been really loving smoked sausage as a breakfast meat. Not only is this insanely delicious because we took the time to really get some roasty flavors on those potatoes, we've got the hot smoked sausage, we've got peppers and onions, so a lot of really natural flavors going on, but then we've got a little bit of cheese on there that really brings it up a notch. It doesn't feel like a breakfast food, so if you're kind of tired of the same old bacon, egg, and cheese or sausage, egg, and cheese, try something like this. Definitely a 10 out of 10. The fourth and final breakfast are going to be some little mini pancake bites, kind of inspired by the Little Bites little snack packs. We're going to be using a box of pancake mix. Now, the $5 includes any 3 toppings or mix-ins of your choice. I'm going to use chocolate chips, some white chocolate covered cranberries. You can also just use plain cranberries, but I got these because then I get white chocolate and cranberries. It seems like a best of both worlds situation. And my third option is bacon, but if you're meatless, then you can just do another fruit option or something to that degree. Because I'm using bacon in my little pancake bites, my first step is going to be to fry up the bacon. Here's where I have a bit of a pro tip. If you're gonna make all 4 of these breakfasts, for example, you could start with this. Start with frying up the bacon. Then I would use the fat from the bacon to crisp up the potatoes for the third breakfast that I showed here. You could also use sausage, of course, instead of bacon. I just was trying to make sure that there wasn't too much overlap between ingredients. I wanted all 4 of these recipes to have very different ingredients. So fry up your bacon first and then use the residual fat to fry up the potatoes. And then you don't have to worry about oil. Plus then you also get the flavor of the bacon in the potatoes. I tend to always save my bacon fat in general in a lovely mason jar in my fridge. I don't typically use this in my videos, mostly because I want to make sure if I'm saying oil, I'm using oil so that I'm not getting a bacon flavor and then that impact my taste tests, if that makes any sense. My bacon is well cooked, so I'm going to move it over to some paper towels to drain, and then we can get started on our mini pancake bites. I think we're going to keep this super simple. I'm going to be using about 2 cups of the pancake mix. This is a complete pancake mix. That means you don't need to add milk or eggs to it. All you have to do is add water. Dollar Tree started carrying Hungry Jack, I want to say about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And honestly, it was one of the best switches that they've made because their old pancake mix was very dry, it was very flavorless, and it just generally wasn't good. For $1.25, this is a much better mix. I used their old mix, but personally, I didn't enjoy it. But it was all they had, so I made the best of it. I think 2 cups is going to be enough to fill my little muffin tin. I'm using mini muffin tin for this one, but you can of course make regular muffins as well. So 1.5 cups of water. Give that a mix. And then the most important pancake making tip that I don't think a lot of people know is that really you're supposed to let this rest for about 3 minutes or so to let the baking powder and stuff activate in it. So I'm gonna set it aside while we prepare the bacon and the rest of the mix-ins. But I thought that maybe these would be a little on the big side, and they definitely are. So I'm gonna cut some of them down into smaller pieces. Nothing precise here. I thought that maybe the white chocolate with the cranberries would make these little pancake bites, these specific pancake bites, kind of have like a cranberry bliss bar, like a Starbucks vibe. They also had yogurt covered blueberries too. So just keep that in mind, because you can do the yogurt covered cranberries or you can do blueberries if you prefer those. And I'm also gonna chop my bacon very finely. Once our pancake mix has rested, I'm gonna give it one little whisk. And then I'm going to start to divide it between my little mini muffins. I'm going to fill each one up about halfway. I do have a little bit of extra batter, so I could have only made 1.5 cups. So we have 24 mini muffins here, so I'm gonna do 8 of each. Throw a couple of chocolate chips in this one. You don't have to be light-handed either because there's plenty of chocolate chips. Now we're gonna do the white chocolate cranberries. Again, you don't have to be very light-handed here. There's plenty of this. And lastly, our bacon bits. Now take a knife or a spoon and just kind of lightly mix those into each of your little muffin cups. Very, very lightly. They're gonna sink as they bake in general. Just trying to make sure that they're kind of lightly coated in the pancake batter. And then this is where that optional cheese comes in. We can add some of that to our bacon. So again, if you're making all 4 of these breakfasts, you can kind of overlap some ingredients like this. Then I'm gonna pop these in a 350-degree oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. And it took about 15 minutes for those to brown up on top, but we're gonna let them cool before we unmold them. There we have our Pancake Bites 3 ways. Let's go ahead and give each one a try. I think I'm most excited about the cranberry one, so I think I'm gonna start with that one. Hopefully it tastes like, at least somewhat, like a cranberry bliss bar. So, that one is good, but it is quite sweet. That one could maybe use a little bit of sea salt or something on top to help balance the sweet, but it does kind of taste like a cranberry bliss bar. I will give it that. Next up, we have the chocolate chip. If you have kids or grandkids, I would definitely recommend making the chocolate chip ones for them. The cranberry ones are a little bit more adult flavored just because of the cranberry. So the chocolate chip ones are amazing, and I really think kids would enjoy that. And then of course we have the bacon cheddar for folks like me who aren't very much a fan of sweet breakfast. A little bit of syrup and you've got sweet and salty. This is really good. It's actually kind of a hard choice between, for me, which I prefer more, the bacon cheddar or the chocolate chip. I really like the chocolate chip more than I thought I would. I do feel like the chocolate chip would make a really good dessert or an after-school snack, whereas I feel like the bacon cheddar makes a really good breakfast option just because it's not overly sweet. But if you were to dip it in syrup, it would just be sweet and salty and kind of like candied bacon. It would probably be amazing. The cranberry ones I'm kind of on the fence about because they're just overly sweet, but I honestly feel like the cranberry ones would probably be better if they were cold and in the fridge, because the melted white chocolate or the melted yogurt is just a little overpowering. But I think if it was still crunchy, like it was re-solidified, it would probably be a lot better. I hope you guys enjoyed these 4 Dollar Tree breakfasts, all for $5. I hope it gave you some ideas. If you have any ideas for some other Dollar Tree breakfasts, leave them in the comments down below, because I love trying new things and new flavor combinations, and so I'm curious to know, if you shop at Dollar Tree, what is your favorite Dollar Tree breakfast? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.